anyone with no pattern cutting experience can make a sewing pattern of a very simple kind of A-line trapeze style dress. With short sleeves, integrated short sleeves, might be able to do them a little bit longer, a V-neck and inseam pockets. Now, you will need a huge piece of paper like A0 size paper, but whatever paper you use is going to have to be big enough to fill you laying on the floor with your arms out, ready for anybody. I got my son to draw around the basic shape of your body. I'm going to lay down on here and I'm going to try and align myself with that centre line. Can you come over here? Is that centre line in line with the middle, like where my ponytail is?
Yeah.
Or not?
Yeah.
Okay. And then if I go out in line with those, here is a pencil. I'm going to put my legs out.
Yeah.
Like that. And I want you to draw.
Yeah.
Like about, I don't know, 3 centimetres away from my arms and my body, going around here, down there. Okay? Ready? Ish. Go. Do it.
So when I start here?
Yeah? Go on then.
How far do I go?
All the way down?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, can you do the same on the other side, please?
Sure. Good.
Thank you. So I'll draw in black the line that he did, roughly. Okay. So that's the line that he did. I'll do it on the other side as well. So having a centre line is quite handy because then you can sort of centralise yourself. And having a diagonal line going down suggesting the shoulders is quite handy as well. Right. Oh, you went a bit funny here. Okay, so it's just rough. So that's kind of like me roughly in like a 2D way. So now I'm going to draw on top how I would draw out a dress for me that has enough ease on each side to end up being like a trapeze dress. Based on my bust size being 34 inches, and also with me liking something like 3 inches ease on each side of my bust on this particular style of dress, I've sort of made a few kind of dots, like how much bigger I want it to be on the hips. Now, the way he's drawn around me, I can tell I wasn't centralised. This is just like a kind of rough thing. Now, I know for the neck, I'm going to have a kind of curve thing. So I did a few dots. And then I know I want my shoulders to come down at a slight angle. Something like that. And then I know that I want the cuff sleeve part to be quite wide. I'll tell you what my measurements are, just so it's handy for you. So that's like 9.5. So I'm going to curve it in. I will do some close-ups, and then I know what that sort of shape. So that's the arm hole bit. that's in the armpit there. So this is all based on me liking about 3 inches of ease around the bust on each side, and then coming down at an angle, going down, 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 and then doing the same on the other side as well. And then I've measured how long I want it to be from the shoulder near my neck going down. Now, I know the hem probably shouldn't be straight across the bottom, but just to make it easy for me, I'm just going to go straight across the bottom. Whoops, ish. So that kind of is my pattern, really, because I'll use that for the back and for the front. Now this is really sticking out there, gosh, terrible. Now this is just for a really simple trapeze A-line style dress. It's got no darts in it, it hasn't got anything. So that's the round neck for the back. And I've eyeballed it to have like a kind of centimetre seam allowance. And I've deliberately curved it down on the armhole, knowing that when it folds up, it fits the space for the hem on the sleeve. Now I'm just going to measure down how much I want a V-neck to go, because I'm going to add a V-neck onto that. So I'm measuring a V-neck that is about 7 inches down, so I'm just doing a dot there, and I'm going to go like that. Like that. So that's the V-neck that I've just done. Now for the facing, for the back, I mean it's up to you what sort of shape you want to do, but you can just do a shape, something like that, but make it the same size on each side. And then for the facing, for the V-neck, you'll do something like the same distance away, which doesn't really look the same distance away, does it? But something like you'll do something like that. So you understand, you have to trace off these facings, yeah? You don't cut them out, and then you'll trace off this one, which will be for the back. So when you've decided where you want your inseam pockets to go, just find a pattern that has a standard dog-ear looking inseam pocket, line it up with the side seam and do little notches, and then trace off that sort of shape, which is like a dog ear, and cut 4 of those for the inseam pockets. So you've got to do these notches on the other side as well, but they need to sort of line up. So do it when you've cut out your pattern, because then you can fold it over and line it up. So I'm just going to quickly cut out that kind of rough shape. Okay, this is kind of important. It's one of those really little things that's quite a big thing. So when you draw out your V, you do how deep it goes, yeah? And you'll go from the line of the edge of the curve, yeah, for the back neck, and you'll go down. And that's just really just to get the kind of shape of it. But the where you cut it has to be like a small seam allowance in. Okay, so where I'm actually going to cut it is there. And the reason why is, I'm not sure I can explain this to you actually. The reason why is because when you sew, you have to sort of have them overlapping at the right point, which is right there, at that point there. They have to sort of overlap. So when you cut this out, come like a little bit up there, yeah? So you'll cut one front, well first of all you'll cut one back, which will have that curved neck there, and then you'll cut one front, and that will have this bit cut out here, which is a seam allowance away from where you naturally draw out the V when it goes to there, but then you need to come in a little bit. Hopefully that makes sense. So I've cut out my pattern, but now with my leftover paper, hopefully I will be able to trace off the shape for doing the back facing, and then trace off the shape for doing the front facing. So I've traced off a facing for the back, I've traced off a facing for the front. Now you need to make sure that when you put your facings together, that you get that little kind of overlap bit, yeah? Like that. So I've also marked on the pattern where the notches for the pocket are going to go, and I'm going to trace off that pocket. And then when you've done that, you're done. Now, there are a few things you could do. You could like chop it up into quarters and do each section a different fabric. That'd be quite interesting. I did something similar to that recently. You could cut a line along where the pockets are going to go and do sort of inseam pockets in that line. But now, using this tutorial of how to make a nurse's scrubs dress, I'm going to make this dress. So can you see it? So that's the back, that's the front, that's the inseam pocket. So I think that's quite good. Now I know you're all going to be saying, oh, put a belt on, put a belt on. I'm not a belty person, but you know, you can put a belt on yours, can't you? I don't really like wearing belts. Anyway, so V-neck, inseam pocket, the integrated sleeves, which I might just put a tiny bit, I can't show you properly, tiny bit of elastic in there, just at the ends. Now I'll show you some details. Yeah, do you want to know a trick about pattern matching? Not very easy to pattern match African print fabrics. Shall I tell you? You know, when you get the fabrics and they look quite similar on both sides, don't they? And it can be confusing. Well, do you know what? If it's so confusing, don't worry about what's the right side and the wrong side, particularly because often, oh my goodness, it's the only way. It's the only way to pattern match, because there isn't an obvious, there isn't a repeat where you can put your fabric right sides together and pattern match. Anyway, digressing as usual. Inseam pocket, we have inseam pockets, V-neck, facings on our neckline, and that's it. But I want to show you how we adapted the pattern to do this. So I'm not sure how much you can see. Hopefully you can see around here. So you probably think there are no pockets there, but you know what? Ta-da! There are. So do you want to know how to do this? I'll quickly show you now. So you cut along the line where you want that hip seam to be, but then you need to do 4 pocket sacks. So 2 get attached to the top, and they have to perfectly align with 2 being attached onto the bottom. You must add seam allowance along that line, okay? So only along the line where you've cut it, on the top and on the bottom half as well. You don't need to add it to the pockets, but it is really important that you put some little notch to show where you stop sewing them together and go around the pocket. So when you sew them together, you end up with pockets. So the pattern that we made, it had a V-neck with a facing like this. But I don't know if you've noticed, I've stuck in a cheeky little placket. If you want a tutorial, comment below. So there are loads of ways that you can adapt that 2-dimensional A-line trapeze style dress pattern. So I've shown you one way with putting in these pockets, but you can cut it up into quarters, can't you, like I said, and have a different pattern in each quarter. What else could you do? You could do that effect where you have a pleat at the front and a faced V-neck. That's really easy, and it creates a nice look at the front and hides the tummy if you've got one. You could do like a tier, couldn't you? You could just have it stop there and do a tiered skirt. There are loads of things you can do with a simple 2-dimensional cardboard cutout dress sewing pattern. Now don't forget, watch this tutorial on how to make your dress now, okay? And if you want to know where I got my fabric from, it was Dovetail London, really brilliant online African print fabric shop. I can give you a link if you comment below. Thank you so much for watching. See you again very soon. Bye.